He brings me around, he stays focused. Without him, I surely fall apart.
He's out to fight, they have no Ash. Only looking to try and run and gun. Sidesteps the Mystic Shock over the 1v1. That could be the game-winning play just like that. Bot lane is pressured.
That's exactly what just happened. Well, Pantheon on now to the bottom lane's giving.
There it is! As you go out to stop, but John Dane's all gone. Harry with the culling, but it's just not enough damage. He needs to make a play right now. Oh, they're all low. They're all joined together. That's one, that's two. A double kill for him. A triple. Emperor's divide onto Johnny. Oh my god!
Top of the morning, top of the show, and welcome back to everyone again. It's week 3 of the LCO, and it is going to be a banger, kicking things off with the match you've all been waiting for. But before we get into that, last Friday we saw the quickest day of games, everything below 30 minutes. It was absolutely crazy. Let's have a quick look back before we get into today.
Their jungle. This is their day. Kevin just does not care. Turret diving. He's a mad lad. He doesn't have ultimate, otherwise that would have been another double kill. He dies before the Galio even can come in to aid him. Praetor picks up the first kill. Killer Instincts into the back line. Looking to try and 1v2. He finds a double kill. Now taking out Jinx. Is it a triple? It certainly is. Make it another and just make it an ace. Why not? Just like that, Rusty. The game was so even. The game was so close. But at 25 minutes in, Pentiment say enough is enough. Baron push or not, we'll just win the game. And oh, hang on. Oh, there's the body slam, the Evan Frosty. Explosive cast, why not? Pixel perfect. The very last minute there goes for his ultimate, put on there by Galio. But that's everything invested to try and keep that one member alive. And Direwolves take the opportunity to try and find two. They'll find a third. They'll take them all down. Shock is just so far accelerated by this point in the game that it really is the double AD carry show. They're the ones to pick up the kills, but it's cool to find to try and jump into this one. The Dragon gets stolen away. It's too little too late. Numbers advantage are not in their favor, but finally the stun comes out. Now into a chokehold. The 3-minute taunt. What was that? That's surely looking like an ace. They're going to try and take out Kiyose.
And what a day of games that was, but that brings us to today. And joining me on the desk, on the panel, whatever you want to call it, is of course a very lovely looking elfish guy and Rusty over on my far left. So boys, how are you feeling today?
I appreciate it, Mac. It's a much kinder thing than what Rusty said to me before the show. He said I look like a Persian rug, so I'm not really sure what everyone else at home thinks about that. But at least I have one nice co-commentator today.
I can say we look
like
very good,
nice
though.
one.
I just want to point that out. This is the only thing I want to bring up here before we go any further back is there a limit on the LCO broadcast on amount of chest hair visible before we have to button it up?
Well, I'll just keep unbuttoning until we find the answer there and I lose my no, I'll put it back. I don't want to push too far, too early on in the show. You look at the start of the week, we'll progressively lose buttons as we go forward. But look, let's have a quick look at the standings and see where Max stands with the producers after that terrible joke, but also where the players stand after 2 weeks of gameplay. Peace and Pentiment at the top, still undefeated, going head-to-head first thing today. Tied third is Order and Chiefs. 5th there, you got Direwolves still just hanging in there. And then 6th to 8th, you've got Gravitas, Mammoth, and Legacy, who are still hunting to get their first win on the board. Now, Jordan, you were not with us on Friday. Any thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, the fact that we've got two teams that are at 5-0 right now, and they're actually going to be playing against each other today, Mac, I think is a pretty big deal. So for me, that's the main one that I'm kind of looking forward to. Obviously, we also want to see Legacy get off the board, get off that 0-5, but they're up against a difficult task today, I think, as well. So starting to see some trends developing when it comes to the standings, starting to see the top dogs really push out in front of everyone else. And then we are also getting that top 5 that is kind of starting to look like that'll be the teams that are going to make it through to the playoffs, unless someone underneath them can start to have a bit more of a solid run towards the end of the season. I think we're getting a bit of a good understanding of who sits where and what we're going to be expected to see come playoffs.
What about you, Rusty? Any thoughts on how everything currently stands and what you think that table is going to look like towards the end of today?
I mean, we're going to get a couple of points of separation today, obviously, right? First place will be decided outright. And one other thing as well towards the bottom is Gravitas have a chance to put themselves back into the top 5. So looking at both of those games for me personally to see how the standings shake up, because we're 2 games away for each team from having played a full round robin. So it's actually a very interesting point of the split to be observing.
And it certainly is an interesting point to be going towards as well, because let's have a look at what games we have for day 1 of week 3. Of course, we are going to be kicking things off with the matchup you have all been waiting for. That is going to be Peace and Pentanet coming up shortly at 6 p.m. Then at 7 p.m. following that, we have Direwolves and Gravitas, which, you know, has some upset potential there. Mammoth and Chiefs at 8 p.m. And at 9 p.m., of course, you got Order and Legacy as well. So there is a lot of potential for upsets across the board today. But everyone should be looking towards this first game of the day. And I can't wait for it. I just can't wait for it.
It's a banger. It's a banger.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be an exciting game. The rest of the games today are never going to be in comparison to this first one, but they're still exciting in their own ways. Always looking at Legacy to see if they can get themselves that first victory and not run through an entire split without a win, because I don't think that has ever happened before in Oceanic League of Legends.
Yeah, that would be, a first, as you just mentioned. Now, going forward, I had nothing else on that. Look, I wish I did. I came unprepared today. I had the buttons undone in the wrong spots. I think my shirt looked kind of like this. I don't know if you noticed. And I've also got to do my hair as quickly as I can. So I'll just keep
You don't have
pushing
hair,
it.
Mac. It's
Getting
just a little
human,
bit. You don't need to do anything to it.
It's all right. Mate. If I keep doing this, I'll get all the oil in it and it'll look great. Look, it's like a human comb. If I could get Jess on the sidelines with a comb, I could maybe make this look better. I don't know. No, she won't come in time. This will go for about 5 minutes. But look, that brings us towards the patch notes. So, patch notes, of course, this week we are going to be playing on patch 11.5. So, we've taken a step forward, and it seems that we are looking at the honey.
Yeah, so a couple of big things that we want to talk about here. First of all, Kog'Maw has a B skin. It's probably the most important thing about this patch. Let's not look at the champion next to Kog'Maw. It's dead to me. Moving on. Serpent's Fang is probably the biggest outright change on this patch. It's probably the only thing in this patch that does stand out above the rest as a big deal, because they've basically turned it into Grievous Wounds or Healing Cut as an anti-shielding item. It's a cheap item. It was already very cost efficient to get in the first place, and now it reduces the amount of shields that people get after you've hit them. So the use for this is now huge. It's actually a very valuable item that we will start to actually see more of.
So you think today's games may see some gameplay with that Serpent's Fang?
Certainly possible. It is a lethality item, so it's not going to be universally applicable, but 100%, if the cards play right, we should be seeing that on the Assassin Champion.
Okay, well that's very good. And speaking of Assassin Champions, sometimes in the bot lane you do get to see some of said Assassins, and we're going to have a look at the key picks for that ADC position, and it looks like we've gone with Kaiser, Jinx, Zaya, and Siva. So, Jordan, you want to tell me why you think these can be the key picks for bot lane?
Well, I mean, I think calling Kaiser an assassin is probably pretty relevant based on what we've been seeing so far in the LCO. She seems to be the queen of the bot lane at the moment, and everything else is kind of a case of, okay, we didn't get Kaiser. What can we do to either negate the Kaiser or play around the Kaiser, or at least get some kind of value outside of that particular champion? I think Zaya tends to be a pretty good champion pick into the Kaiser. Jinx seems to be pretty solid right now as well. And Siva obviously coming through with some of those new builds. We're liking to see that a little bit as well. Obviously, we've got a reasonable amount of diversity, I feel like, in the AD carry role right now. But obviously, Kaiser still just maintaining that top 1 pick percentile or whatever it may be. Seems to be the queen of the bunch.
Yeah, I mean, Kaiser's a very big deal. She was contested by the Samira before Samira got nerfed, so it did kind of leave her alone on that throne now as one of the best. The Kog'Maw that you saw in the last graphic as well is relevant the same way the Jinx is, because it can outrange the Kaiser and can be relevant in that laning phase. And then you've got Zaya and Siva in this list. The reason they are there and prevalent is because they're self-sufficient champions. So if you've got a support that likes to roam around and leave the lane, that's why you'll see them more often than not.
All right, now, someone that's definitely not an assassin and you shouldn't ever see in the bot lane is Teemo. Now, I think everyone loves Teemo. Is that what you told me, Jordan? You love Teemo?
Yeah, I have a Teemo, my friend Teemo right here. This is this is Teemo, right?
That's that. I think that's Teemo, and that looks like the statue that we're giving away for #1 LCO fans. So if you are the #1 LCO fan, Jordan is going to personally mail you his own signed Teemo statue. And you could win that. So, you know, prove it on social media. Show us exactly how much you love LCO in any way, shape, or form. Preferably in a hilarious video if you like insult Jubes at the same time as giving everyone else compliments, and then turn it back into only compliments for Jubes so he gets really awkward. I'd love to see that. So if you can make that happen for us on the desk, and then, you know, for yourself as well, because that's what matters, you can get yourself a Teemo statue, and that'll be sick. And then you can pull it up on broadcast like Jordan did, flexing on everyone.
I will say, you're not going to get my Teemo statue. Just want to put that caveat out there. Although I will sign the Teemo statue if whoever wins it wants that. I'm not sure why you would, but anyway, that is an option, I suppose. That Teemo's been with me nearly 10 years, Mac, so you're going to have to pry it away from my cold, dead hands. It's very important, very special to me.
Oh, well, hopefully you don't get cold, dead hands anytime soon, because I love you and I like you in my life, Jordan. But look, moving forward, someone else I like in my life is the fans at home. And, you know, that brings us into From the Fans. So if you guys have any good questions for the talent this week, please send them in with the hashtag LCO, at LCO. Make sure that we see it, we can get it up on broadcast, and we can tell you our life story. We can tell you why we're here today, why we didn't all become tradies, because, you know, ladies love the tradies. And of course, Jordan tells me how much he really wanted to be an electrician back in the day, and I told him, well, it's very fortunate you didn't, because I feel like you would have got zapped a little bit. And anyway, that brings us back to the point of ask us why Jordan didn't become an electrician at LCO, hashtag LCO, and we'll get that on the show, and he'll answer it for you, but not unless you ask, so do it.
Yeah, ask it. I mean, funnily enough, I did actually at one point want to be an electrician, so I don't know where you've pulled that out from, Matt, but you're kind of on the money.
You're spoiling
Always
the
on the money,
content there,
Jordan.
Jordan. You can't actually
Pretty
reveal
sure
that.
You need
Oh,
to
well.
know that.
Bit of a tease, we'll call it that.
Bit of a tease. Well, let's see if anything changes as we do get towards the show. But that brings us one step closer to the match you've all been waiting for. You know, get Mac off your screen. Get these two handsome fellas cast in the game. It's going to be Pentanet and Peace. And we're going to be talking Peace first. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's have a quick look at Peace and see exactly what they're going to be bringing to the table today.
Is it a roster thing?
It is here. It is. Okay. No, I didn't actually say that loud enough. That was on me. So if you have a look here, Jordan, you want to quickly take us through the Peace roster?
For sure, for sure. I mean, they're some of the best players in their given roles. I don't think there's too much more to really say about it. We did see the other day a little bit of a role swap, or sorry, a roster swap with Lisa being put by the wayside and Kevy coming in for a game. As I understand today, Lisa will be back, which I don't know if that's good for Peace, bad for Peace, but I think both of those junglers actually have performed really, really well for Peace so far in the LCO. And across the board, they've looked like a very, very strong team. I don't think you can find a weak point in this roster, which I'm sure is something that we're going to be saying when we talk about Pentanet as well. And that's great. That's great news. This is the Battle of the Titans, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to see a really good game out of this one. I really hope that we're not going to get some kind of one-sided matchup that's just going to fall by the wayside and we're going to go, oh, that was a bit disappointing. But I do think Peace is up to the challenge, and I think it's fair to say that they probably do come into this one maybe as the slight underdogs, but they have been showing some very good performances across the board in the past couple of weeks. It seems like they're strong in every role, so they might be the ones that can finally knock Pentanet off that pedestal.
Knock a pedestal off that Pentanet,
That's right.
of course.
There you go.
That is certainly something important to do. Now, speaking of Pentanet, we had a quick look at Peace, and we've seen so far that, you know, Violet, he's been definitely one of the hardest farmers in the league, but one of the hardest fraggers is, of course, Pradith, who's over here on the Pentanet side of things. So, Rusty, do you want to tell me your thoughts on why Jackson Pavone is so damn good looking?
It's just similarities to some celebrities in the world is the main reason for that one, but he is a point of contention for his opponents to deal with, as he's also the most difficult to deal with draft-wise. If you looked at his left, the Biopanther there is the key of stability for this team. And overall, looking at the way PGG have been playing so far, it does feel like they have a particular recipe for success. It has always been successful. No one's really been able to best them on it. But the one thing that we can say, and we will potentially see in this draft, is when they didn't pick the same style of draft, the one time they did it, they were really challenged by Legacy, who haven't even got a win, and pushed them to their limits. So when they're on their game, they are absolutely unstoppable. Pradith getting 17 kills and 0 deaths in a game as well with a Penta. can be the star of the show, but it's the stability around him that I look at that really allows Mr. Markey to shine.
And hopefully we get to see him shine today. It's going to be an absolute banger of a match down in that bot lane. But look, you have heard from us here on the Desk the Talent. It is time to have a quick check-in with the players and see what their thoughts are going into today's matchup.
Find the first kill, they take out Jungle Man. Out goes the stun and out goes the trap. As now, we're looking to try and see whatever can happen here. Multiple members bleeding here from the side of Peace, but they just don't fall on down. Too good, too fancy with their mechanics. And Vengeance says it's time to go. He jumps in with the Cataclysm. He dies before the Galio even can come in to aid him. Praetor picks up the first kill. Killer Instincts into the backline, looking to try and 1v2. He finds a double kill. Now taking out Jinx. Is it a triple? It certainly is. Pentanas say enough is enough. Baron push or not, we'll just win the game. And that they do.
I think our team is the best role by role. It would be disappointing not to win. Regular season is a whole other beast than playoffs though, so even though I'm 5-0, I'm not complacent at all. I'd say Pentanet, they're a good team. I think their macro is very good. I think their laning is just way worse than our laning, if I'm going to be honest. Like, I think individually our players are just better role for role. I mean, you're going to hear Parbu say that that's not true and stuff, but I think that's the edge we have over them. I'm pretty confident in laning versus Chaz. I laned against him a couple times last year. I mean, he's not bad, but I think I'll come away with the victory in the laning phase.
Like, the atmosphere in every scrim that we play and like every comp game we play is super good. Like, this is probably the most fun I've been having on the team in what feels like a long time. So I don't think we've really been thinking too much about Peace. Like, I know it's a hype matchup and it's going to be a fun game, and they're our like rivals right now, but like coming into games, it's pretty much all about us and what we can do to win. I think laning phase is probably their strength, but if they don't get huge leads outside of that, I think they're going to struggle against us.
Like, the plan for us before the season, we're trying to do our best and be the first team, like, stay undefeated before playoffs. That's what we wanted. And it's looking very good right now, so we just want to keep it going. Yeah, I'm definitely worried about Pablo's picks. If he picks like, I don't know what he's going to pick, but if he goes something crazy, I don't know. I'll be afraid, I would say.
We don't want you to be undefeated. Like, that's our responsibility. This is our spot. Like, you guys are going to have to move. So yeah, they're just kind of in our way. I think there's a bit of a conversation between like Shock, myself, and Halo of like who the best mid is. I think anyone who's including Halo in the conversation doesn't really understand the mid lane dynamics very much. I think there's a pretty clear gap between myself and him. I think they're really aggressive. If we fumble the early game, they'll probably run away with it. That's probably the most dangerous thing about them. If we are able to have a stable early game and not let them run away with things, I don't think there'll be any contest in the game. So we just need to make sure that there's no like super volatility in the early game and we just play clean and methodical.
I think they just talk a lot. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, it really is unreal how much they tweet. Like the thing is, I don't have to tweet. No one on my team has to tweet. We're just gonna win. Like, there's no need to bark like dogs. But like, even if they weren't undefeated, I'd want to beat this team. Like, I really do want to beat this team out of any other team. I do want to beat them. If Pentanet were a character in League, they would be Corky. Because the champion is completely useless in the early game, like they're laning, and then he like spikes late game and like carries. So like their early laning phase is just Corky, but their late game is Corky. You know what I mean?
If they were a character in League, they're probably Draven, just one death open mid, something like that.
The first champ that's popped in my head is Amumu. Because what Amumu do all the time is just crying. So they're just being a little baby to cry.
Peace at Draven, because in solo queue, if they die once, it's GG and open mid.
If we win, I'm gonna tweet something. It's just gonna be a little shush. It's gonna be a shush. That's all I'm gonna tweet.
I guess the only words I have to say is best of luck. You might have to babysit your mid laner a little bit so he doesn't get too far behind. And if you don't camp your bot, then you're probably gonna lose.
Good luck, and the most important thing is Peace is going to Iceland.
Any words for the Geyser Peace Camp? Well, you've been looking real strong against all the weak teams. I guess now you finally get to come up against the big dogs. I guess enjoy your 5-1 start to the split.
For the fans, I'm gonna say 我们一定会赢的，加油！ 冲冲冲 Peace, yo.
You better believe there's something to bark about now. Those boys are really pushing the dog narrative, aren't they? So let's see how this matchup ends up after it's played out. They're both extremely excited to make this one happen and both to come out on top as well. You could see that they realize their win conditions on both sides of the fence, and I'm excited to see exactly how the draft goes.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting, isn't it? I mean, there's been a lot of talk backwards and forwards. I like that video a lot, by the way. It really seems to, for me, build things up a little bit, sets the stage, adds a bit of extra pressure. There's talk going backwards and forwards, so I mean, I feel like there's a little bit more weight to this game now, yeah, even despite the fact that both teams are already 5-0, and there is that to talk about. Now we've got this whole discussion surrounding, you know, who's the best mid, who's going to be the corky, who's not going to be the corky, who's got good mid-game, early game, bad late game, whatever it may be.
So be the corgi.
I love it. There's a few quotes in there I'm sure that we're going to be able to pull out during this cast, Rusty.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just a little bit sad, but not surprised that we didn't get BioPanther talk and smack, because we've got everyone else. Like, Decoy's a very calm and happy man, and even he was getting in there, calling him some names, but you'll never get BioPanther talking bad about people, I don't think.
Well, I guess we'll see if anyone's going to be doing any talking before the game. And to bring us said talk, we do have Nat T down on the sidelines again with both these contenders today. Nat, how excited are you to go and chat with the boys?
I'm pretty excited to see what they say. I feel like this interview might just write itself with what comes out of their mouths sometimes.
Yeah, well, hopefully it's a good one. So who do you have for us for the first matchup?
I'm excited to be interviewing Praedyth and Violet. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. We saw a little bit of a content piece just before, but I want to ask both of you, starting with you, Violet, how you guys feeling coming into this? You pumped up? What's the feeling over there?
Yeah, we're all feeling very excited to play against Pentanet. I feel like whether it be scrims, it's always the most fun playing against Pentanet because they actually fight us, while all the other bot lanes generally tend to just roll over. So it's gonna be a very exciting match.
That is so good to hear that, you know, even in scrims there seems to be quite a bit of competition. But what about you, Praedyth? How is it over there with Pentanet?
Yeah, all jokes aside, I actually really like some of these players from Peace. I really like versing them, scrimming and playing against them like here. Like, they're definitely our toughest opponents, like, by far. So it's always just like super exciting and fun, and it's like you don't want to underprepare for them or anything. Like, you just, you know, you want to do the right amount of preparation, and it'll just be a fun time.
I mean, that is very different talk to what you said about some of the other teams. So then, what sort of prep have you been doing coming into this, and who's going to be probably the biggest threat that you'll come up against?
Honestly, biggest threat would definitely be Violet for sure. I think all that preparation and stuff has gone towards him. But I thought my mid lane was bad, but I'm pretty sure theirs is just way worse somehow. You know, last year he got carried to Worlds. I versed him on his debut game, made him go 0-7. He died to some creeps. I don't know. Every important match he played, he lost. Went to Worlds, got back. I heard Peace were making a super team, and then for some reason they got Halo as their mid laner. And then, you know, I look on Twitter and I see he had the audacity to get a picture of Bjergs, and that picture's living rent free in my head forever. So I'm gonna make sure I punish him here and make him maybe go 0-10 this game or something like that.
So you're just trying to one-up yourself on a previous sort of matchup that you've had with him?
Yeah, for sure. So to punish that guy.
Well, then on the other side, Violet, what about you guys? What prep have you been doing, and who's going to be your biggest threat coming into this matchup?
Obviously, I think Praedyth is also by far the best player on his team. I think he's just the highest impact player. I think Pabu is decent, but like the rest of solo laners, I think they talk too much, especially Chaz. Talks a bit too much smack on Twitter when he loses to WayX and Shock on both sides of the matchup. So I think both the mid laners tend to waffle a bit with the trash talk on Twitter. But yeah, I think it'll be just
Hold on. Didn't you get solo killed by like Legacy's bot lane? I don't even know who they are.
Okay.
And 2v2 killed by Mammoth as well or something. I guess the jungle was there, but I'm pretty sure you guys were 2v2 killed anyways. But
Yeah, but
I agree.
mean,
He does talk too much for sure though. I agree with that.
I think it'll be a very interesting bot lane matchup. But I think of most of the games that I've played bot, I think I've done very well individually, and Creative is not going to get away with losing lane after 10 minutes against Gunkrab. This time I'll show the rest of the bot laners in the league how to close off the game after winning lane.
Oh, that is absolutely amazing. I just love what's going on between you two, so I know bot lane will be the matchup to watch. But before I go, I want to have a very quick question to ask you, quick answer. How long do you guys think it's going to take your team to close out the game, Pradith? Give me an estimation for you guys.
I mean, the 80k will probably just tilt and just keep the game after he starts dying, so... Oh, and their mid laner too. Oh my god, they're going to be chain inting the whole game, so probably like maybe 23 minutes.
I think
Okay,
Pradith
Violet,
will
what
wanna-
about you?
I think once Pradith does once, he's going to start chain inting, and they're going to FF15 or FF20.
15 to 20, you reckon?
Yep.
Alrighty, guys. We'll be marking those ones down, and we'll be checking in with one of you guys after the games. But good luck. I cannot wait to jump into this match for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, I'll see you then.
I love the confidence. I'll see you then. I'll see you in the post game.
Yeah, that was something. That was a pretty intense interview. I felt that. There is something I can agree with, though. You know, Violet did say Chaz talks too much on Twitter, and I can certainly agree with that. I've been publicly called out a couple of times now, but he's put me in my place, and Chaz, please don't do it again. Look, I'm sorry. I've picked you today in the predictions. I know I've leaked that early, but that's fine. Just don't come after me. I'm over it. I'm really scared.
Anyway, he said a nice thing about you today, didn't he?
That was something, wasn't it? Pardon?
He said something nice about you today on Twitter, didn't he?
Only because I predicted it. He's like,
so that's how it works, really. That's all we need to know.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Now, something else that's beautiful is what these predictions are going to look like, and see how we've split down the middle with all of our predictions. And, ooh, Jordan changing it up, going for peace here. What's going on with that one?
Yeah, look, I mean, someone had to do it, and I feel like there is a pretty reasonable chance. You know, this is like the Mammoth versus Gravitas game, but on the other side of the table, if that makes sense, you know. I would probably go ahead and agree that I would say I think Pentanet are the favourites coming into it, but if a team is going to beat them, it's going to be Peace. So, in a way, I think we've got a potential chance here. I like what Halo said as well, by the way, the fact that in some instances, Pentanet have looked a little bit shaky in the lane phase. Peace have been able to have some pretty good lanes, and I think a lot of what we've seen from Pentanet in the past as well, especially in that Legacy game, has been their good decision-making in the mid and late game, getting them through these matches where they might have struggled in some instances. So if Peace can get off to a good start, and if Peace can play the mid game and the late game out well, then I think they can actually win this matchup. So that's why I've gone. I think it's a bit of a out there kind of a prediction, but I have faith. I have faith in Peace. Although if they do win, I'm going to be taking Rusty's Peace shirt because I feel like that's a little bit unfair. He's got the shirt, but he didn't predict for Peace. I don't know what's going on there. That's rubbish.
I'll trade it for your Teemo, mate. I'll trade it for your Teemo. Is that fair?
I'm not sure it's worth that much to me.
Well, then you're not getting
I
the
guess
shirt.
We'll see. And look, something that's very important is one of you is going to be beating the other one at the end of this match as well. You'll be 70 for 4, whoever wins. So, you know, good luck, I guess, to both of you. And also, Nat, do you want to give us a quick rundown on what your thought process is and why you picked Pentanet?
Sure. I mean, honestly, it was a really tough choice to me. These teams are obviously pretty evenly matched, and it is really hard. I think they are kind of a different sort of caliber in the league right now, so it was so hard. I kind of went off who I enjoy interviewing more, but even then, it kind of was a toughie. I think Pentanet kind of just won out for me in the end, so it was definitely in no way a strategical pick for Pentanet.
My pick was purely because I don't want Chaz adding me on Twitter anymore. Now, moving forward, we'll send you back down to the sidelines, Nat, and we'll see you after the game because
Thank you,
we'll have a winner's interview, and you've already had one banger interview, so hopefully the post-game is going to be just as good. Now, that brings us that little step closer to Champ Select, and this is where the game can not only be won and lost, but it's going to set the tone for this banger match.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big question for me, Rusty, is do we get to see Pradith on Kai'Sa again?
Well, yeah, I mean, a similar thing with Violet, right? both of these AD carries have kind of stamped their mark with the meta ADs and said that they're exceptional on them. So I do actually agree with looking at AD carries through the ban phase. I don't know who is blue or red side, which would be a factor in that also. And I also think beyond just the AD carry picks, the supports tend to play different champions as well as a matter of preference, not a matter of comp. So it could be a case of Violet Aladoric being Xayah Rakan into a Kai'Sa Alistar just because they like it.
And something I actually quickly want to point out before we get into this is, I don't know why Kevy's not playing today, because he's got that perfect KDA. He's the only one in the league, and if he doesn't play another game, he's going to be the only one in the league with a perfect KDA. That being said, doesn't matter because he's not on the roster today. So it is time for Champ Select. It's time for the banger matchup we've all been waiting for. Jordan, Rustman, take us away.
All right, well, let's jump into it. Pentanet and Peace, both 5-0 right now. I'm going to give you a bit of space here, Rusty, because I feel like there's a lot that you're going to want to break down when it comes to these picks and bans. But the one thing to note, so far, only the one ADC ban. And it could be a mid ban too.
Yeah, I mean, it's a flex ban at the moment. A lot more AD carries in the world are starting to put the Tristana bot lane, not just in mid lane. And that opens up, generally speaking, just ridiculous draft flexibility. So I always prefer seeing the Tristana banned if they're afraid of it being flexed and they have no answers. The Xayah are going to go with that one as well. So this kind of comes back to that small little point I'd had just before the draft, Jordan, on what could be seen by Peace in bot lane. Just because I know Aladoric loves the Rakan as well as a choice. So maybe not going to see that duo now. Probably not even see the Rakan because the Xayah is gone. The other big thing here before we get into this first pick is that it was a red side Thresh ban, which is usually the most common ban to stop. So it's a good counter into Rel, first of all, right? Usually it's the most commonly seen on blue side to enable the Rel first pick. But because it's a red side ban, you know, Rel's still on the cards. PGG have said we don't really want to prioritize that just yet. Aladoric has a good Alistar anyway into it, so they go for the Seraphine.
Yeah, a few power picks open and available at the moment. Seraphine being one of them. Obviously, Lilia another. Kai'Sa still part of that discussion. I think one thing that we should mention before we get too deep into this phase is that Viego is not available this week. If you've been keeping up with the news, Viego is globally banned. So that's why you're not seeing the ban yet, and you also won't be seeing Viego picked. So that does take one of the, I feel like, strong champions actually out of the pool for maybe not necessarily these two teams. We haven't seen the Viego too much apart from Pabu in day one, but it's definitely something to consider as we go through the rest of this week as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Pabu has played it, and Lisa's also posted some highlights on his social media of the Viego himself, so we know that he is a powerhouse on the champion, but definitely going to be sorely missed perhaps for both of these guys, but that's not going to matter. We're straight into the other jungle champions here, because it was a Lilia first rotation from Appy on red side. Pabu responding with the Udyr, so similar clear speeds. Udyr probably always the fastest, however, and very much about helping the rest of the team with ganks. You know, Lilia hits 6, can gank and actually engage. Udyr hits you with a bear stance and then needs follow-up. So that's something that the rest of the team will build around Pabu.
Yeah, I mean, you've already kind of got that with Seraphine, right? Seraphine likes to have a good, strong front line, likes to be sitting behind a few of those people that are tanky, able to extend the range of that ultimate. So I'm already liking the composition that I'm getting actually through here from Pentanet at the moment. They've got 3 very, very powerful picks, and Peace are going to have to draft accordingly against that. They've gone for the Gragas again. Could be a bit of a flex here, whether it's top, whether it's support.
Also
not
Mundo.
so sure yet.
The Mundo ban, because now that I'm looking at it, it does most likely say to me that we will be seeing, it is top Gragas most likely, even though Aladoric can play it, with Appy playing a magic damage jungler. So they're going to ban tanks away from Biopanther, who, 1, very good on tanks, and 2, giving him Mundo into double magic damage topside is basically losing the game through draft. So this is actually very smart banning here, in my opinion, from Peace. Even if there's other priority champions available, they have a clear strategy. They're targeting Bio to try and make his life harder to enable Appy to shine.
We'll see what these remaining couple of picks are going to be. Mid lane is still open, of course, and there was a lot of back and forth between Halo and Chaz in the interviews. So, well, not in the interview, I should say in the video, but will be quite a key part of the map, or a key factor on the map, at least as far as the storylines are concerned. And Halo's just going to go for something safe, which I think is not a bad choice, given that he is going to be the one picking first mid laner. Gives Praetor the opportunity here maybe to go for the top laner, to go for the mid laner, see what Pentanet are going to pick up.
Fire Panther does have some carries in the repertoire if he would like. He does know his matchup. So, you know, again, if I was Bio, I'd be looking at what tanks exist. That list has been skimmed down. You'd be pushing for a Maokai. There might be another one that I'm forgetting, but Gnar is your staple champion that kind of does it all and does survive decently well. And again, with presumably seeing the Gragas top lane, unless they choose to flex it now, which is possible, as that's what Peace have allowed themselves to do here by picking a mid laner fourth, is they could put something top lane that hard counters it and give the Gragas to Alidoric. You know, Gangplank, when played well, does do a lot of work. Api is an exceptional Aurelia player, so that could also be considered.
Looks like it'll be the Wukong, not something that we've seen pulled out a whole lot so far in LCO, and not something that we've seen from Api actually so far either, but definitely not a bad choice against the Gnar. Team compositions are looking a little bit different. I feel like there's a little bit more skirmishing going on in the early game from Pentanet, whereas Peace are looking to get to level 6 and just dump a massive wombo combo on top of Pentanet. You think about the composition that Peace have got right here. You've got Cyclone, you've got Lilia, the Lilting Lullaby, you've got Shockwave, you've got Explosive Cask. You dump all 4 of those ultimates on top of each other, and Violet sitting in the back line on the Aphelios, and you're having a good day. It sounds easy to make that work, but I'm not sure that it will be in reality.
Yeah, I think that's actually spot on with what I was thinking here as well, right? They have a lot of R-button champions that do have really influential ultimates that they can throw, but it's not exactly a wombo type of thing that synergizes perfectly. It would just require perfect execution to make that work. You know, Gragas has to be really careful with how he throws his explosive cask, or it disrupts the shockwave. If the shockwave is used after Lilia puts everyone to sleep, you're probably not going to hit them all because they've had 2 seconds to run away. So there's these considerations that has to be looked at, even though they're big ultimates. How do PGG deal with those ultimates themselves respectively to get out, as their composition does have a decent amount of mobility and movement speed within it to dodge those ults.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough game, I think, to be a Seraphine, though, especially if you do get caught in one of those ultimates. That's one of the champions that's not going to be able to get out of the wombo combo. The good news is, though, that Praedyth has got the Kai'Sa, right? So you always have that kind of get-out-of-jail-free card where you can just ult away. Maybe it puts you in a rough spot, but it might not be as rough as getting caught by the Shockwave or by the Cyclone or what have you. So there's all these options, I suppose, for Pentanet. My main thing to focus on going into this game is going to be that early laning phase. Again, going back to what Halo said in that video. If Peace can get off to a good start, I think that is their win condition. If they fall behind, I've been very impressed by Pentanet's ability to just control the map macro-wise in the mid-game and in the late game. So I think it'll be tough for Peace to come back if they're not ahead. Hopefully we'll get to see a very good game coming out of this one, Rusty, because this is supposed to be the best game of the season so far.
This is your grand final preview as we get into the game here as well, potentially. You know, both teams being undefeated, definitely something that we should be seeing again in the finals if it continues on this trajectory. And right now you can see the drafts completed on your screen as well. It's not just the Seraphine that might have a hard time in this one, it is also the Victor who could potentially struggle, and is the other person we have to look at as we get into game.
All right, well, here we go. Day 1 of week 3 of the LCO, and we have a clash of the Titans, Pentanet and Peace, 5-0, going head-to-head. And finally, one of those win streaks will be broken. The question is, by whom? And who comes off worse for all of the trash talk in the lead-up as well? So far, nothing too crazy to start with from the outset. Everyone's quite passive, quite happy to just split across the map and watch for the invade.
Yeah, just getting a very generic style of 5-point start there. You can see that the top laner is moving for Api here to leash for Lisa at that red buff. Looking at the other side, both top laners are going to be leashing, and both junglers are going to be pathing from top to bottom as well. So pretty standard, just opposite sides.
Indeed, indeed. A little bit of backwards and forwards in the mid lane. But we're not probably expecting to be seeing a whole lot happening in the first couple of minutes of gameplay here. I guess what's interesting is where those two junglers are going to meet each other. One would think it would be closer towards the bot lane than anything else, which is, I suppose, a little more atypical. Normally, you're going to be seeing things go from bottom to top. So that could change the dynamic a little bit. And, of course, Udyr, when he hits level 3, wants to really start getting in those engagements, whereas I'm not so sure that'll be the case for Lisa. Although, early gank in the mid lane, Chaz should be able to walk out of this one relatively okay. copping a bit of damage. Obviously not going to make you feel too happy as a mid laner, chunking through those pots earlier than you would like.
Pabu does have a point in the bear stance here, just worth noting. Not every Udyr will always put a point in bear. They tend to go Phoenix, Tiger, Phoenix, then bear for level 4 clears. But of course sees that the Lilia has gone through mid for a level 2 gank. And it was never about getting a kill on that gank. It was just about applying pressure, trying to help Halo out just that little bit, you know? It's an extra potion used, and that is a significant difference with these prolonged mid lane trades. Does look towards those Raptors, of course, but wasn't really able to get them, and will just return to her own side of the jungle. In saying that, the more Raptors you can steal as Lilia, the better, because you don't lose any health at all really taking those camps. Where you go to your blue buff and they can start the herd, it can be a little bit slower in the way that you clear, especially early, as you do have a little bit lacking damage on single targets compared to AoE.
Most definitely. We should probably touch on the bot lane here as well, because we might start seeing them get involved in an engagement shortly. Pabu forcing Lisa away. Maybe won't see the contest here. Lisa level 3. Udyr, of course, on level 4. But down in that bot lane, what does it look like to you? Obviously, having a bit of experience down there yourself, but to me this seems like it's looking more likely to be a farm lane. I think both the AD carries here are quite happy to just take this one slow and get into that mid game with a big stack of farm.
Yeah, for sure. The only real volatility in this lane would have been maybe level 2, but both lanes realistically just want to continue to scale up and get levels. Gragas can be more aggressive at level 3 because he'll have sustain with his passive and his W usage. Seraphim wants to have a point in every spell as well to be able to trade more effectively. But because they are champions that are more reliant on item break points than anything else, particularly the AD carries, of course, then you would be very content just equaling farm with your respective opponents down there. Level 6 probably the first major point of contention there. And otherwise, level 5 for wave priority for PGG is something that could be good as Chaz in mid.
Yeah, he's back. Lisa, oh, this could be a little bit of an overcommitment, but it turns out there's a support coming up from the bot lane as well. First Blood did go the way of Peace, by the way, but it's out of trade. Aladoric goes down as well. I guess you'll take that, though, to be honest, if you are Peace. You get the First Blood. First kill goes over to the Lilia, which can be big news, and gives Appy a bit of time up in the top wave here to just farm up for free, not lose too much HP. Happy with that.
Yeah, Wave in a fantastic position for Appy here as well, still having that TP advantage. So overall, you would definitely say that was a slight win for the side of Peace. Still a very good trade from Pensinet.gg, being there quickly, teleporting early. You know, was a significant lead, I should say, for Pabu on this Udyr, but Lisa getting that kill gold basically equalizes the junglers right now as well. So small lead, mainly experience for Halo and Appy is the key takeaway for me. Getting level 6 faster, you know, having those experience levels up first is going to be quite significant. Aladoric also getting his hands in there as well in the cookie jar, making sure he gets himself an assist, but unfortunately for him, just being there to get the assist gets him killed.
I mean, I think it's probably the best case scenario, though, when you think about it for Peace. Like, it looked like someone was going to die there regardless from Peace. If it's going to be Aladoric, if it's going to be the support, a player that doesn't necessarily need to be down there farming in the bot lane or in the mid lane farming, then you're probably pretty happy with that, again, overall, if you have to lose someone. So it always sucks to be the support that roams up to mid and then dies, but definitely could be worse. Now, we see an early dragon take here from Lisa, which hasn't actually been spotted out by Pentanet, and that is extremely lucky because Pabu is right down there next to them. Level 6, looking really strong, looking really scary, but he's got no idea. And a free dragon goes over to Peace. So they're continuing to compound these little bits of advantages that they're getting here in the early game.
Yeah, a lot of these plays are kind of based on lane pressure, lane priority, and the wave control that they have. So there's a possibility that Praedyth and Decoy could have made it to the fight if it was to happen at the Drake, but there was no mid-priority whatsoever for Chaz. He was stuck under his turret where Halo had free reign of mid lane, and even going to check the dragon is a potential risk there for Pabu. So he may have had an inkling that it was being done, but there's no real value in going to check unless you take the smite chance, right? You try and maybe steal it, but he's a flashless champion into the shockwave, so he could just go with the dragon.
Aladoric just trying to provide a little bit of lane pressure here, make life easier for Violet. Pentanet bot lane quite aware that Halo was roaming down, keeping an eye on the river, and obviously getting those comms as well across from Chaz. So they're not putting themselves in too dangerous of a position just yet. Both looking fairly healthy. I'm not sure there's that much kill potential just yet for the Peace bot lane.
And if Pentanet.GG play super passively down here in bot, then the wave is coming towards them. They might miss a minion or two here on the push, but you can see just extra range minions with that cannon. It is going to build a massive wave and it is going to crash under the turret in about a minute from now at most as top.
Ooh, top lane, the Cyclone comes out, so does the Gnar ultimate, but there's one jungler here, not two. Who does it favor? Biopanther just can't quite get himself the kill. A 1-for-1 there would have been really nice, but not quite salvaged this time. So Peace are again happy with the conclusion of that engagement.
Lisa with no hesitation to flash in there as well, hit the Q, hit the Blooming Blows, put him to sleep, and that's a pretty big deal in making sure that trade is successful. Halo going to get chunked out here as well, but nothing doing with the ultimate other than the chunk. That top lane play gets the flash out of pretty much everyone involved in that play as well. But once again, just that little bit extra going the way of Peace. You know, they do get the kill, they don't trade lives, and just being able to sneak the auto attack in there, Appy, before anything goes to the wayside to make sure that he's able to pick that one up is huge for the Wukong in that 1v1.
Certainly is. It's also nice for Lilia to be grabbing an assist there as well. Just keeps that money ticking over. Not a lot, but feels like you're involved in the game, which is good. Bot lane, still nothing really to speak to. You see the reset coming out from Peace. You spoke about that wave pushing in, and it did. And so they reset. Nice reset timing for them as well. Or at least Aladoric did. And Violet is going to hang around here, farming up the rest of the creeps. Still looking like it's a bit more of a farm lane down there than anything else.
Boots of Lucidity are just so broken, by the way. Like, we're at a point where I would almost want to draft Leona in my team comps just to stop them from going for the Boots of Lucidity and forcing Mercury treads as an item. It's just too cost efficient with what it provides you in the way of ability haste and movement speed, of course, being a super important stat to run around on the Rift and get things done, particularly as a champion like Lilia, who you're seeing here on your screen for Lisa, as we are obviously in a pause, has rushed those Lucidity boots and has been widely influential around the Rift so far.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a change-up, hasn't it? Because a lot of the time you used to see mobility boots being picked up a lot more often than not on junglers, especially on supports, but it seems like the Lucidity boots with the ability haste changes versus cooldown reduction have maintained that position now as the Kings, and I think that's fair, you know? We didn't get to see too much from Lucidity boots in the days of old. Anyway, we're back on, so it was quite a short pause. It was just a keyboard issue, and right up next to the Rift Herald, there is a bit of an engagement going on. Lisa has been completely caught out in no man's land. And so that is good news for Pentanet. This is going to result in another further objective for them to swing things back in their favor.
Yeah, a free Herald to be taken here. Of course, we look towards the Dragon up in a minute 30, so Peace can still look towards contesting that one. Maybe get themselves the second Drake of the game, as Pabu really struggling to find the eye of the Herald there, but he gets there in the end. And they also saw Aladoric, so it is an opportunity for Praedyth to freely push that bottom lane, knowing there was no Gragas support nearby, even without vision, and he moves up the river towards his support in Decoy to try and get some control, as they will spot the Lilia as a result.
I mean, this could really start to snowball for Pentanet as well, now that they do have that Rift Herald, because Dragon's coming up in a minute, so they'll be able to split the attention of Peace once the Dragon does spawn by popping the Rift Herald in mid or in top, somewhere they'll have to go and deal with. Or, potentially, Peace are just going to have to give up a tower or two and try to contest the Dragon. Aladoric, of course, able to get off not too badly here. Just jumps around over the wall. No such luxury for Lilia. But gets a little bit of revenge, taking the Wraiths away. Not sure it makes it worth it. Another engagement in mid. Halo might be in a spot of bother, I think. Should be okay. Shockwave connects. And Lisa is there to help out as well. But this might be a little bit too much, bitten off by the jungler of Peace. Again, a 1-for-1.
Yeah, but also a free Dragon to be followed from this. Remember, top lane with the staggered teleport timings that you've seen from Appy and from Biopanther means that Bio will have teleport where Appy will not, and that Wukong does not look like he wants to move down the river whatsoever. So this is just going to be a free Dragon, as Pabu having a crack at Aladoric here.
Aladoric might have bitten off a little bit more than he can chew as well. Praedyth decides he wants to get involved as well. does make use of the killer instinct to steal that kill away.
Just hook, line, and sinker, Jordan. That was... I mean, Aladoric throws his ultimate offensively, looking to try a kill decoy, but he's got backup just around the corner. Great use of vision there as well, but I will say supremely disrespectful for Aladoric, knowing that his jungler's not going to be nearby, knowing he'd have the numbers disadvantage. I think was just trying to force something back, maybe equalize the numbers, but definitely bites the bullet on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess while we are still in the lane phase, it does feel like we're starting to see some of that macro decision-making from Pentanet proving to be a bit too impactful. Again, those discussions surrounding perhaps the lane phase favoring Peace and the mid to late game favoring Pentanet. Well, already starting to see that kind of eventuate. By and large, I feel like Peace have made a couple of minor errors and they've been well punished by Pentanet. And if that continues to happen, then this snowball is going to just get a little bit too much to deal with.
Yeah, for sure. That really is the basis of it, though, is how quickly PGG were to punish. Absolutely has been a pretty major factor. Still, unfortunately for them, though, it is a 0 and 2 mid laner for Chaz. Is still farming decently well and will still have the upgrades on his abilities to augment and does kind of get soft spike timings from that. Very hard to push into it. A Victor, for example, once he hits his 100 Chaos points and upgrades the E. But not going to have as much of an influence when it comes to those team fights as someone like Halo will now, with how he has been set up to succeed by the rest of his team. That last shockwave in mid lane obviously was quite significant as well, and puts the Victor at 0 and 2.
We'll potentially see some action down in the bot lane. Lisa is hanging around. I'm not sure that Peace are quite confident enough to go for the dive at the moment, especially knowing both the bot lane ultimates are available for Pentanet. And a bit of pressure in mid as well is going to force a rotation off from Lisa. Halo's been caught out. You can't escape Anudir. And you certainly can't escape Chaz at this point either. He's getting himself on the board, getting involved. Lisa, this time just a little bit too late to the party.
He's looking to have Aladoric reinforce him to perhaps contest this one, but it's still going to get the Herald charge off. It is still going to give gold over to the side of PGG as well as the kill on top of it. Again, Chaz still, unfortunately, not getting any of them, but Pabu's a monster Udyr right now running around the Rift, so does need to be respected. It's Ghost, it's the Chem Tank. There really is no way to run away from that one, even as a phase rush Orianna with Flash. Just no chance.
Yeah, Udyr's one of those champions that is scary to begin with, but when he gets the turbo Chem Tank, it's even worse. Now, Chaz might have overstayed looking for that first mid turret, and he'll be punished for that. So another kill into the back pocket for Halo, but at least he does get the tower down. Well, speaking of down, we go down to the bot lane where Violet is very low, survives just by the skin of his teeth. That was a teleport down from at least Biopanther. Oh yeah, Appy's down here as well.
Yeah, just scrapes away though. He actually had the red weapon out, which he got just enough lifesteal and movement speed to get away with that. Just barely. So super lucky, of course, did have the right items at the right time, or right weapons rather, at the right time, and we're thankful for that one. At the end of the day though, it is still PGG trying to push the agenda around the map. You know, it was the ultimate from Praedyth going in, looking to put some damage down. It was Violet just getting away with his life. So CS advantage or not really able to have too much of an impact just yet on this Aphelios.
We do have the Aphelios and the Gragas going up into the top lane as well. See how that pans out in a minute and a half, if they're going to stay there, because Dragon is coming up shortly. I dare say Peace will want to have their two bot laners the bottom side of the map when that comes online.
Also mismatch. So mid outer turret being gone makes this extremely dangerous for Peace. You can see already Halo steps up to mid just to clear a wave and gets forced away by 3. That will continue to happen. And now you're Aladoric and you're Violet. You're pushing top lane. It's not safe. So
they're walking down the river as well, Rusty. This could be a bad spot to be in, but looks like won't get to see an engagement. Neither the Peace players coming down too far, nor the Pentanet players going up too far.
Yep. The advantage of that situation being that it's a mismatch, so Biopanther is 1v2 up there, does give them enough priority to get vision, but you can tell from all the wards they placed, it doesn't feel like they want to return to the Dragon. It feels like they want to return to top lane and look at the second Herald and instead trade objectives. But to do that, they're going to have to try and get that mid lane priority like we highlight with the tower being gone, you know, it's a completely different ball game if you're unable to get that. And PGG could punish with both.
Oh, Happy. I think he might have just gotten caught by a W from Praedith as he was trying to recall. Can't get out of there even despite investing in the Cyclone. And you talk about free dragons, well, that's going to be another one for Pentanet. Peace immediately opting to go towards the top side of the map and try to take the Rift Herald instead.
It seems every single time there is an objective to play for, someone's getting caught on the side of Peace, and it hasn't been a single person. It has been kind of going around the Rift to all of them at individual moments. This time it was Appy's turn. I think it was a blue trinket. Yeah, it was a blue trinket that kind of reveals just the soft spot of his location, and now 1v2. He knows that the Ood is nearby because the dragon's about to spawn. He also knows that his team is on the other side of the map. So just that maybe 2 seconds too long, he stayed in that lane and gets instantly punished.
At the very least, Peace do grab something out of that, which was the Rift Herald. Be quite important to see how they can utilize that. I'm not sure they're going to quite get the value that Pentanet were able to by getting the first tower in mid.
They don't
Gives you something to play around.
You know, top was a free turret if they choose to place the Herald. While members of PGG were there, you would expect it would have had enough time to get the charge off. So it does seem like their priorities are elsewhere. And they've said, we don't need any kind of immediate gold after 14 minutes. There's no turret plates. Let's just try and summon it while they're on rotation. They see Kais at top and they say, let's place it mid. This will get hurt, but the charge should still kill it.
Yeah. So, an exchange of mid towers equalizes things, at least in the mid lane, not having lost a turret. So it's 2-1 as far as Pentanet is concerned.
Top lane out are probably the next thing that you'd start looking at here for PGG in terms of priority. But Decoy doing the correct thing and helping to defend Chaz until the wave crashes. While a Victor can instantly clear a minion wave, it's easier said than done when you've got no vision.
Aladoric again potentially in a rough spot. Explosive Cask might have been a bit ambitious. It's going to be tough to get the Explosive Cask in a good position against an Udyr who is just so slippery with all of that movement speed.
Do you think they kill him though? Like even if that...
I don't even think they do, no.
Yeah, I agree. So I just think maybe that was a little bit too adventurous there from Aladoric again. Is just liberally throwing the ultimates this game, so maybe something we're getting accustomed to at this point, but definitely not looking at kill threat too much there.
Halo does need to be quite careful up in this top lane. Gonna try and get aggressive here. Shockwave? Surely not. It's not going to connect. Praedith just walks out of it. And Peace again, another ultimate use that is kind of fruitless. Feels like they're trying to force a little bit.
Definitely trying to force. Really going out of their way to try and force as well. Just chucking the Shockwave down, but that's a tab check there from Halo. Press tab, see a Gale Force, decide maybe I don't do that again in future. But he learns the hard way by having a longer cooldown on that feeling.
Yeah, still not really seeing this team comp coming online for Peace just yet. I think Pentanet have done a good job of avoiding 5v5 fights. There hasn't been a situation where Peace have really been able to get those ultimates working together, and we even spoke about how difficult it might be to do so when those fights do eventuate, or if those fights do eventuate. So the longer this goes, the better it is for Pentanet. They're starting to increase that gold lead.
Yeah, in terms of playstyles, that's definitely the case. Looking at scaling here for both of these teams, Peace scale incredibly well. So I don't think they'll be too upset with the game state. You know, they don't see this, of course, but it is only 2,000 gold difference. They have a dragon. They've got some turrets. They have a lot of farm on their carries as well. So they're not going to be unhappy with the game state here, Peace. It's just that feeling that we get as viewers where maybe they are just trying to force a little bit too hard is noticeable. And now they're contending with a 3-0-3 Udyr. So I guess the big question I would have is, does he even die for the rest of the game?
Has the Dark Seal, so Pabu's intending not to. Starting to get that one stacked up quite nicely already as well. So, yeah, what about it? Why not?
He's already got 8 stacks. Try and stop him. It is an AP, like, again, Phoenix Udyr can build a Lich Bane if you're snowballed as like your 3rd or 4th item, so why not?
Yeah. We're going to get to see some fireworks fairly shortly. 45 seconds until that next dragon. And again, a potential pick. Pabu goes deep, and so does Praetor following suit. That's exactly what you want to see for Pentanet. Appy's in the middle of nowhere. In fact, that was his decoy. Fooled me. But Peace, again, coming off worse right before the dragon is going to spawn.
Oh, that's an
The fight's
ultimate.
going to continue as well. It just doesn't stop, does it? Pabu on the other side of the map this time. Well, there is some response. The Cyclone is invested. Appy should get out of there okay. And Violet able to pick up his first kill for the game, which is going to be quite important for Peace. They definitely want to be getting this Aphelios online as quickly as possible because Praetor is starting to look scary.
Yeah, Praetor with 2 completed items there. I answered my own question. Of course, Pabu does, in fact, die, and it's the perfect storm of items and weapons here for Violet as well to help enable that one. Gets the red weapon, is able to have a Last Whisper as his second item of choice here as well. As Praetor is going to get snowballed.
Whoa. He's
Just
lucky
misses.
that Lisa wasn't able to connect.
Yeah.
Might have been enough for Violet to even catch up there. Appy still continuing to cause a bit of a ruckus. But we'll get the reset out here from both sides.
That should be an
Still-
LDR for Aphelios as well, Jordan. So in terms of taking down the front line, taking down the tanks and team fighting, Violet is in actually a fantastic position. That is a huge Aphelios.
Well, that's where you want to be. But I think they need to find a way to get Violet into the fights, if that makes sense. Again, everything we've seen so far today really has been Pabu running at someone, getting a cheeky stun. There's a good follow-up quickly from Pentanet, and then they disengage. And there hasn't been the opportunity for Violet to really just wail on the front line of Pentanet because there hasn't needed to be necessarily much of a front line in any of these engagements.
Yeah, it has been very disjointed. You start looking at major objectives. So Baron, of course, you know, when you're getting towards the Infernal Soul, which is huge, in 3 minutes and 50 seconds. These are points where PGG will definitely want to be grouping for it to secure it. So these are opportunities for Peace to then start grouping for team fights and try and execute their R button comp. As team fighting is definitely something they will be supremely capable at. Not to say that PGG can't. They've got almost infinite scaling here with their Seraphine. Wants to hit those late game items and do significant work even in the support role.
Yeah, Seraphine's ultimate is certainly something. Can feel a little bit interesting when you're on the receiving end of it from downtown. Here comes Aladoric again. Might look for the explosive cask, but that is probably not the one that he wanted. So that's out of the picture again for Peace, and Pentanet are going to be well aware of that.
I'm not counting, but that is 0 for 3. Appy.
Yeah, Cyclone on top of Chaz. Is it going to work out? Not so sure. He just gets blown up.
Happy.
So again, it's just the same. It feels like it's the same from Peace. They're trying to find picks. They're trying to force the issue, but they're just not on the same page.
Not at all. They're trying to do too much individually. 100%. They're not playing like a team whatsoever. Teleports are coming in here. Baron already at half HP. This may just be secured unless Lisa pulls off a miracle with no flash, Elfish guy. I don't think we can at all.
Yeah, how can you contest that 3 vs 5 knowing that the Seraphine ult in particular is still online, the Gnar ult is still online? There's just too much to stop you from even getting in there to try and get the smite steal. So everything's working perfectly at the moment for Pentanet. Here's Halo getting picked off in the top lane as well. We must have missed that one.
I think we were looking at the Gragas maybe at the same time. And, you know, this is probably the biggest talking point. We've mentioned it a couple of times now, but it basically has been a major factor in deciding the game is if an objective is up in a minute or if an objective is being actively looked at by PGG, Peace have kind of thrown the gauntlet and just missed the shot every single time.
Here we go again. Aladoric looks like he wants to try and force and engage. Pabu this time might have been the one caught out. The sleep does connect. Damage is just enough there for Peace, even despite Violet not being in the fight. And there's a brief respite for Peace here, but the problem is, while it's a pick before Dragon, it's just a little bit too early, it feels like. There's still a minute and a half for Pentanet to get that respawn up. They'll be able to come back in and try and contest for some of that vision. So it's impactful, but not to the same extent that the Pentanet peaks have been.
You're seeing them move now towards the bot lane outer turret. They considered pushing for that one. The wave is still about 20 seconds away, however, so they're going to opt away from it. Instead, they are just going to prioritize the red buff and some vision. So yes, it will not secure the Dragon. It will not prevent the Soul from going the way of PGG. But the vision that it could potentially give them, you know, there's a couple of teleport flanking wards available now in some unusual places down in that Krug camp, for example, that may be able to be utilized.
We'll definitely look to keep an eye on that in this next fight. It's going to be a hugely important fight for Peace. Soul on offer for Pentanet. They have the Baron buff, and they will have the Baron buff for this engagement as well. So a small little advantage for them there. They start pushing that mid wave in, looking for the prio so that they can get the vision down.
Hurricane also done here for Violet, being an unbelievably big spike. Of course, adds a lot of influence to his green weapon. Going to sleep here.
Yeah, just the one player. Lisa investing Lilting Lullaby a little bit too early. No follow-up from the Peace roster. Appy was looking for a Cyclone, but he was too far away. And here comes BioPanther. Halo dodges the ultimate, but still gets caught in the stun. Appy tries to get in the back line and open up some space for his roster. But that is a mid laner dead for Peace, and the rest of them on the retreat.
Yeah, big force there by BioPanther. Doesn't even need to use the flash, however, to still be able to lock them down. Bunch of stuns on the Halo, who doesn't get the shockwave off, and they cannot get in at all.
Oh, I don't know that Lisa was going to get out. He does actually invest flash, so we'll be okay, but it's very wonky from Peace at the moment, isn't it? They're just not feeling like they're on the same page. They're just not feeling like they all want to commit at the same time. Maybe the communication isn't there. Something is off with this team fighting for Peace, and it's going to give the Soul over to Pentanet. Infernal Soul as well, might I add, which is not going to make life any easier for Peace.
Oh, it's going to make it almost impossible. You know, Udyr, this tank champion that can duel quite well, is now going to be able to one-hit your carries. There's just no world where you can leave a carry alone. Pabu's unstoppable. BioPanther with the Stride Breaker, Randuin's tank build is now doing a lot more damage. And Praedyth is basically just going to one-hit everything.
Yeah.
From this position, there is no real play for Peace besides getting the pick first. Usually you don't want to let them whittle you down with that Infernal Soul.
Yeah.
You want to try and reduce the duration of fights if you can, to reduce its impact.
You know, and that was another thing that I was going to bring up, is that even if it's not going to be someone like Pabu getting in deep and using that Infernal Soul in that way, you have Praedyth just chucking these W's out. Decoy as well has some pretty decent range, as well as Chaz, so even the small bits of poke start to feel quite relevant when you have the Infernal Soul on. Here's Pabu, and here is a carry left alone. Violet is forced to flash over the wall, will just survive. Teleport from both the top laners to arrive in the fight. Appy will decoy out, but that puts Peace out of position. And I think that might have been a runaway W that's connected onto Violet. Unfortunate for Peace, that might just be the game.
Yeah, looking like it, of course. You've got that Mega Gnar. Will he be able to get the ultimate off? Has the flash there. At minimum inhibitor here.
Flash forward from BioPanther as well as the Gnar ultimate, and I think that is going to be the death throes for Peace. It feels like more of a victory lap, really, for Pentanet at this point than anything else, as they take down the Nexus turrets. The Nexus soon to follow. Pabu just bashing away on that with Tiger Stance, and there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. One team goes forward as the 6-0, the undefeated roster, and that is Pentanet, the GG. Peace falling today, and we'll have to look for revenge come the second round, come the playoffs, but unfortunately today it was not their day. And Rusty, I think there was a few moments there that certainly could have gone the way of Peace, but they really did just let the ball slip in the mid-game.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that Peace can take away from that game, positively and negatively, of course. They did lose the game, but there's moments where you're thinking, okay, they have a chance here, and then you look at the setup and you're not seeing that chance be utilized at all. I don't really recall a moment where I saw the Aphelios front to back with a team in front of him. I think we always saw someone dead before that could even happen. So Violet never got the chance. And so this is a lot of things that they could spend time learning in the VOD reviews. And the next time we see this matchup, it could be a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we need to get one more talking head in here as well. So let's bring Mac into the conversation once again. Look, an interesting game there, Mac. I suppose you're feeling pretty happy. You got your prediction right, which is out of the ordinary for you.
Are you kidding? I have the best track record with predictions. I don't know, production, they just keep getting the score wrong. That's all I really got on that one. But look, speaking of getting things wrong, you were wrong. You didn't get the Peace W over the line. So congratulations, Rusty, for getting ahead in predictions. But also, I want to have a chat about what's going on down in that bot lane. There was just absolutely no action almost the whole time. Violet was ahead until the end in terms of CS. So yes, he still managed to be the biggest farmer in the server. Unfortunately, as you mentioned, Rusty, he just never got a chance to shine, never seemed to be around a lot of these fights, around these engagements, had to leave his supports for dead, as you can see on the screen there. And then there was a few questionable decisions where you could see that Peace weren't on the same page with one another. There was one point just before Baron was up where AP went in, fully invested, the Cyclone invested his life, and no one came in to help him out to follow up. So that turned into the Baron getting taken, that turned into this crazy fight at mid, which was another tower, and just off the back of that, all these little pieces came together, and PGG, their team play just looked so much better in the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at the team play from PGG is definitely a shining point here for them. BioPanther was team fighting exceptionally, and they were always finding a priority target. You know, it wasn't just take out a tank and then like try and play the rest of the game. It was one pick, basically gave them the thing that they were after, whether that was a dragon, a baron, an inhibitor, or the game as such as well at the very end.
It was something crazy, right? And in that fight that you just saw before, you know, BioPanther going in off the back of Lisa missing the ult, which was very unfortunate, but that allowed, you know, Pentanet to realize, oh, cool, we can initiate, and there's going to be pretty much no counter initiation off the back of it, which led to the Soul, and then from there, you know, as I mentioned, pieces coming together. Pentanet really just looking like the coordination was what got them over the line. I really loved that early game, though. You could see that, you know, Peace were almost setting themselves up for victory, and everyone was hell standoffish. You could see Chaz even trying to get bullied at mid lane. They ganked him 2 or 3 times there. And that was just a glorious game to watch, and I cannot wait for the next time we get to see both these teams go head-to-head. Now, that leaves us with the question, you know, where to for Peace? Because Pentanet now are looking like the champions. And speaking of champions, and speaking of speaking, we have Nat T, who is a professional speaker, and a professional speak to people that speak down on the sidelines. And who do you have that is the speaker, resident speaking to you today, Nat T?
Wow, that's a lot of speaks, but I guess the resident speaker that I'm going to be speaking to is Predith yet again. I thought we'd get you back in after, you know, a very enjoyable pre-game interview. But how you guys feeling after that win? You're now 6-0.
Honestly, bit another word is a bit like disappointing. I expect to be a lot more hyped. The game wasn't as hard as other games, unfortunately. But I mean, it doesn't mean the game was hard, but it wasn't very close. Like we knew from draft that we had the upper hand for sure, and then the game just went our way. So yeah, we're pretty happy.
Can you talk me through the draft a little bit? You know, it seemed coming out of it, everyone kind of swayed to your side. They're like, there is no way they can lose off this draft. So, like, how was that drafting phase for you?
They left, so the two, like, I guess the 3 power picks on red side that you have to ban are obviously Udyr, Seraphine, and Viego. Viego's disabled, and then they left Seraphine and Udyr, so I thought they were just going to trade one for some reason. And then they just, like, they gave us Udyr and Seraphine somehow on blue side, and then they wanted Aphelios. Like, Aphelios is my champ. I don't know what that... Look, I want to be honest, I don't know what that guy's doing on my champ. I kind of got a little bit pissed off. But, yeah, obviously, Aphelios is for me. He's trying to pick that off me. I mean, whatever. So, I'll just go Kai'Sa. Like, we're happy with that. And, I mean, yeah, we're happy. But, Violet played well for sure in lane. He was pressuring me a lot, so...
I was actually going to ask that. You know, in the content piece we saw, Halo said that they feel as if they could play laning phase better than you guys. How was it for you? Did you feel pressure? Did you feel they did better than you guys in the laning phase, or?
For sure, their bot lane knows how to play with waves the best, knows how to pressure me on every CS. Everything about their bot lane is just better than everyone else's bot lane for sure. But I think because the way draft went, we had perma jungle priority. And I mean, I think for sure our mid lane is way better than their mid laner. Like, that was a bit funny that what he said. Like it's just not true at all. We have like strengths where they don't have strengths. I guess they have strengths where we don't have strengths. Like their bot lane's probably a lot better in lane, but I think our mid laner and top laner is a lot better in lane. And then we just get like the better jungle champ. And then Violet loves eating the Gromp camp, so he's up a little bit of CS, so he can have that ego on me.
Well, thank you so much for the insight to that game. Again, congratulations on that win and now being 6-0. And enjoy the rest of your night before your game tomorrow.
You too. Awesome.
Well, there you have it. They just had it from the draft, apparently.
Yeah, well, I think everyone in chat, everyone on the desk also thought, hello, how has this happened when we saw all the picks come out? That was something crazy, and it's good to see Udia still has that 100% win rate, so let's see how that goes for the rest of the season.
You got to respect the bear slaps, man. They come for you.
I think you are asking for trouble when you let Seraphine, Udia, and Kaiser go through in the first 3 picks for the best team in the region. You know, it's just you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot in a way if you're letting those 3 champions over without really getting some really strong picks on your side. We did see the Lilia early in the draft for Peace, but I didn't feel like there was any like wow moments for them when it came to the draft. Whereas at least for me, I mean, if you go back and look at the replay, as soon as that Udia was picked, I was like, oh, you know, you've got Seraphine Udia and you're thinking, this is starting to look pretty bad. This is starting to look pretty strong. I wonder how Peace are going to deal with it. And it turns out they didn't have an answer.
Yeah, I think Udia was actually open for Peace to take as well, but they chose the Lilia
Kaiser was
instead.
as well.
So, man, I don't know. Maybe they thought they had it. Maybe there was a bit of ego going in there. Maybe Peace just really thought that they were the better team and thought that they could give a bit of a chance there to Pentanet. But Pentanet said, hey, we're going to take every chance you give us, and demolished Peace at the end. So that will lead us to the break. We do have another match to get to. So before we get there, go get yourself hydrated. Don't go too far, and we'll see you in a moment.
He will decoy out, but that puts Peace out of position. And I think that might have been a runaway W that's connected onto Violet. Unfortunate for Peace, that might just be the game.
Yeah, looking like it, of course. You've got that Mega Gnar. Will he be able to get the ultimate off? Has the flash there. A minimum inhibitor here.
Flash forward from Biopanther as well as the Gnar ultimate, and I think that is going to be the death throws for Peace. It feels like more of a victory lap, really, for Pentanet.